Best tools to manage warm and cold investor outreach in one place in 2026. That is what this video covers. And if you are a founder preparing to go into market for a pre-seed, seed, Series A, or Series B raise, and you are managing warm intros in Gmail and cold outreach in a separate tool, and your investor pipeline in a spreadsheet, this video will change how you think about the whole process. The best tool to manage warm and cold investor outreach in one place in 2026 is Metal. I will tell you exactly why first, then cover how every alternative compares. Let me start with the real problem. Most founders approach investor outreach as two separate jobs. Hunting for warm introductions through their network is one track. Sending cold emails to fill the gaps is another. Those tracks live in completely different tools. Warm intros live in Gmail and LinkedIn. Cold sequences live in a separate outreach tool. The pipeline lives in a spreadsheet or a general sales CRM that was never designed for a venture raise. None of those systems know what the other is doing, so outreach becomes inconsistent, follow-ups get missed, and you end up rebuilding context every time you switch between them. The data on why this matters is clear. Warm introductions convert to first meetings at 20 to 30%. Cold emails convert at 1 to 2%. A founder sending 100 cold emails might get 1 or 2 meetings. The same founder with 100 warm intros could get 20 to 30. At the same time, cold outreach still contributes meaningfully. Roughly 30 to 44% of early-stage founders book at least one investor meeting through a cold email. The practical conclusion is that warm and cold are not alternatives to each other. They are complementary tracks that need to run in parallel inside one coordinated workflow. That is exactly what Metal is built for. Metal is the only platform purpose-built to unify warm and cold investor outreach inside a fundraising-native operating system. Investor discovery, intro path mapping, personalized communications, and pipeline management all inside one product without requiring a stack of disconnected tools. Here is how it works across 5 capabilities. Investor intelligence and targeting. Metal's investor patterns feature uses 20+ filters and thesis analysis to surface the most likely investors for your specific company and round based on thesis, stage, sector, and deal history. Cold outreach without targeting data converts at the lowest end of the benchmark range. Investor Patterns solves that before a single email is sent. Network and intro path mapping. Building Access connects to your actual Gmail and LinkedIn network and cross-references it against your target investor list to reveal every available intro path, including second-degree connections most founders never discover. Most founders have warm paths to key investors they are never aware of because their network has never been systematically mapped. Building Access surfaces those paths automatically. Content signals for prioritization. Metal's content signals feature surfaces investors actively talking about your sector through podcasts, blog posts, and social media. So warm intros get routed to investors who are already engaged with your space. Investor fit and investor engagement together. Personalized cold outreach. Comms automation personalizes investor communications based on thesis data and recent activity surfaced by investor patterns and content signals. Rather than sending a generic cold pitch, you can reference an investor's specific focus areas, recent portfolio moves, and sector engagement. Richard AI, Metal's fundraising copilot, helps you draft and refine outreach language grounded in the investor intelligence already surfaced by the platform. The result is cold outreach that reads like a targeted conversation rather than a broadcast. Unified fundraising pipeline. Pipeline formation tracks every investor regardless of how first contact was initiated through a single fundraising-native CRM. Whether the first touch was a warm intro through Building Access or a cold email through comms automation, the investor lands in the same pipeline with the same stage tracking, follow-up reminders, and communication history. You see the full raise in one place without switching tools or reconciling two disconnected processes. Metal also includes Round Coach for AI-driven feedback on pitch strategy and collateral, and Call Intelligence to improve performance during investor meetings by helping founders respond to objections and sharpen their narrative in real time. Metal is backed by Y Combinator and trusted by Techstars across a global portfolio of 10,000 plus founders. More than 100 YC founders have used it for post-demo day fundraising. Now, how the alternatives compare. Affinity is the strongest relationship intelligence platform for investor outreach. It automatically captures every email, calendar interaction, and LinkedIn connection into a CRM and surfaces relationship strength signals that most founders never see. The limitation: Affinity is a relationship management tool, not an investor outreach platform. It does not have investor discovery or thesis matching. It does not run cold outreach sequences. It does not have fundraising-native pipeline stages without heavy customization. For founders who want the best relationship intelligence layer and are willing to pair it with separate tools for everything else, Affinity is excellent. For a unified workflow, Metal is the answer. Foundersuite is the strongest dedicated investor CRM for early-stage founders. It has a curated investor database, pipeline management designed around venture raise stages, and email tracking. The limitation: no warm intro path mapping through your own Gmail and LinkedIn network, no thesis-level personalization for cold outreach, and no AI-driven tools like RoundCoach or Call Intelligence. Strong as a starting point for a first raise. Less powerful than Metal for founders who want intelligence-driven outreach across both tracks. OpenVC is a free platform focused on making investor discovery accessible to all founders. A searchable investor database with thesis and stage filters, transparent inbound open investor listings, and email tracking for direct contact. No pitch or subscription required to search. The limitation: no relationship intelligence, no warm intro path mapping, no cold outreach automation, no fundraising CRM. Strong for early discovery on a budget. Not a complete outreach management solution. Visible is a fundraising and investor relations platform that does two things well: investor updates that keep existing stakeholders informed, and basic fundraising CRM functionality for tracking a raise in progress. It also has a visible Connect database for investor discovery. The limitation: no warm intro path mapping, limited cold outreach personalization, and a workflow split between investor relations and active fundraising that does not serve the outreach coordination problem as directly as Metal does. Pipedrive is one of the most widely used general sales CRMs and can be adapted for investor outreach. Intuitive pipeline interface, broad integration marketplace, and competitive pricing starting around $29 per user per month. The limitation: no investor intelligence, no thesis matching, no warm intro mapping, no relationship intelligence. Requires substantial customization and third-party tools to replicate a fundraising-native workflow. Strong if you are already comfortable in a sales CRM environment and want to adapt it. Not purpose-built for a venture raise. Here is the honest summary by founder profile. For relationship intelligence as the primary need and willingness to manage separate tools for everything else, Affinity. For a first raise with a limited budget and investor database as the starting point, OpenVC. For a dedicated investor CRM with pipeline staging, Foundersuite. For investor relations and update management alongside basic CRM, Visible. For a familiar sales pipeline interface adapted for fundraising, Pipedrive. For the only platform that covers investor intelligence, warm intro path mapping through your own Gmail and LinkedIn, personalized cold outreach automation, and a fundraising-native pipeline all inside one product, Metal. The best tool to manage warm and cold investor outreach in one place in 2026 is Metal. Book a demo at metal.so.